Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. This is Carla with Carla's Craft and Charm. I'm so happy you decided to join me today. I'm coming at you for a quick flip through of this Rembrandt journal. It's a reading journal, handmade, that I made that I'm going to be listing in my shop, and I wanted to give you a flip through so you can take a look at it. This has a gold tie closure so that it can be adjusted to the user's preference. It doesn't have to be used at all. It's just a ribbon closure. This is a book about Rembrandt from the early 1900s. I could not find an actual publication date on it. I did use the front and the back cover, and I made a new spine for this journal with this beautiful blue fabric to match these navy blue leather accents on the book. There's some gold trim on the front and on the inside as well, the front and back cover. Most of the items that I use in my journals are vintage. I do not use digital kits. However, I could use some digital prints from time to time. This is an example of a digital print here on the front cover. There's a similar digital print on the back cover as well. This is outlined in the same gold trim as you'll find on the front cover. Has a clear acetate pocket with a book plate card. As indicated, this is a foreign language book about Rembrandt's life. This is the original front page of the book. We have here a side tuck with the front of a vintage greeting card and some stamping. I wrote chapter on there to indicate this was kind of like a reading book. That was what I was going for in this journal. Got some scrapbook paper with some lace trim here. Some sewing of the lace trim. Vintage music paper. A vintage print from the 1900s. This is a vintage postcard from 1954. Some stamping throughout the book. This is a vintage printable from 1953. Some ledger paper. This is from a book, and I coffee dyed it. The Honor of Friendship is the name of the poem on the back. This is vintage wallpaper that is sewn. 2 pockets. In here we have a handmade card. Great books with some vintage advertisements. Tag, I think I said card, with some vintage trim. And then these are book darts that I thought might be useful for a reader. We've got some writing paper with hummingbirds. This is the middle of the first signature. There are 3 signatures in this journal. The back side of that vintage book, which I've lined in some vintage wrapping paper. And some more writing space. Another pocket. The back of that vintage music paper. And then a belly band that I've hand quilted, sewn, with some vintage writing paper and an envelope tucked inside. And this is a page from the original book about Rembrandt. Lined with some scrapbook paper. That's the end of the first signature. You see on the inside we have the same blue fabric that covers the outside spine. This is a vintage watercolor book I took this out of. Sewed on some trim. It was double-sided. Some vintage onion skin paper, which is a flip out. This gold book page that is about the Bible, and I covered the inside of that in case the person did not want that inside of their journal. A flip out with some washi tape and some sewing. This is a vintage advertisement. A bookmark that I made, double-sided. We've got an eyelet and some vintage ribbon up at the top. This is some more vintage scrapbook paper. Some stamping, some food colored dyed paper, another music page, scrapbook paper with a Mod Podge napkin to form the center of the second signature. And then we have the back side of all of those. We have a vintage, this was from a vintage book page actually, it wasn't an advertisement, to make a side tuck. And a vintage card, thank you card, with the envelope tucked in there. Advertisement. Here we have a vintage playing card, paper clipped on at the top. And we're at the end of the second signature. Started the third signature, some scrapbook paper with a vintage playing card over some pattern paper and a vintage first date of issue envelope from 1949 with its matching stamp. About Edgar Allan Poe, continuing that reading theme of this book. Some handed dyed paper again, a doily, some more scrapbook paper with a handmade booklet tag. A little boy reading. This was from a more modern magazine. Just an image I thought would go good in here. With some ribbon and some fussy cuts, some writing space on the inside of this, and then this is a vintage advertisement on the back. This is a printable that I made into a notepad. It's sewn on the top, and this contains some papers. It is coffee dyed, and I've just got that clipped in there at the top. Another page from the Rembrandt book, some coffee dyed paper, a book page to make up the center of this Edith Holden book page, entitled June, which is when I made this journal. This is a coloring page. And on the back side we have a advertisement with a time card with the Edith Holden side tuck and some vintage rickrack. This is a napkin covering that time card, just as a journal card. Coffee dyed paper with some stamps, and just a piece of doily type scrapbook paper there. And then we have the back side of all of those. And that ends the third signature. The same acetate pocket on the back with a vintage schoolhouse picture. Miss Alma Hart, this is our schoolhouse. Does not have a date. A similar printable to the front, lined in the same gold trim. And then flip over, it's the original back of the book with some lace accents. We have book corners on this. And this book measures, let me get a measurement for you. I did not do that before I started the video, and I apologize for that. 6.5 wide by 10 inches tall. It has a 2.5 inch spine, and it contains somewhere between 80 and 90 pages in total. This is a doily on the front with a Mod Podge printable that says so many books, so little time. So this is my Rembrandt reading journal. I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and you can find this on my Etsy page. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great one.